Hi, and welcome to another episode of Wine and Wisdom. I'm Thomas Hoang, and you're listening to the TL podcast, where knowledge is shared and no one takes themselves too seriously.
Saturday Night Fever, remember?
Got it.
Got it.
Hello.
Don't you tell fibs. I know, Lou. I know everything, mate. You can't.
Right.
Hey, Cam, what's the go of the shirt?
Hey?
What's the go of the shirt?
This is the Ritchie kids. This arrived in the mail for me yesterday. It's a guy I sold a house to, Sean Fraser, very, very talented musician. If you get on WSFM in the mornings, you'll hear him reading the weather. And we've become very good friends since I sold his house. He's just launched a new band, and the first time he brought out shirts, they were small, medium, and large. I said, "You got to be fucking kidding me, Sean." I said, "Have you had a look?" I said, he goes, "It's not selling very well." I said, "Have you had a look around lately, mate?"
Have a look at your audience. What's your target audience?
We've been in lockdown. We've been in lockdown for 2 years. We're not in Japan.
Got their COVID coats on. Jeez.
So anyway, he sent me a shirt yesterday, and look, I've got to say, I don't think he listens. I tried to get him on here once, but he's going to get in too much trouble with work if he had too much of an opinion. So, but he sent me a CD. What am I going to? Who has a CD player anymore?
You have an Xbox?
I'm thinking, what am I going to do with that? I do have a PlayStation. Yes,
It'll play in there, mate. It'll play in your PlayStation.
it's in the packing room. So anyway, Richie kids, if anyone, Lou, you'll know. Chris, you're too old, but very Blink 182-ish, mate. So if you,
Nice. Yeah, cool.
if you like,
I know Blink 182.
Wow.
Look up the Richie kids. They'll be very disappointed that they're now associated with this podcast, but tough shit.
How you guys been?
Oh yeah, good. Busy week.
Yeah.
You all right now? Your hips okay?
Hips good. Hips feeling so much better. I cannot believe it. I said to Steve yesterday, actually, I feel like I'm sleeping again for the first time in 3 years. It's amazing how one little thing wrong can just affect you so much. So I'm feeling much better. So sorry I missed you guys last week. I wasn't feeling great last week, but I'm
I'd like
back.
to say we missed you, but you know.
Yeah, I know.
It was giving you that much pain, Lou. It was giving you that much pain to keep you up over night time.
Oh, look, it was horrendous. The best way I can explain it is like it felt like I had a screw was loose in my hip, in my right hip, and so I couldn't lay on my right side. So every night it was 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes. You know, right side, left side, in the back, on the back, or on the front. You know, just trying to find a comfortable position. I just could never, and so I spent 3 years of feeling like a new mum again and having a baby that needed to be fed all the time and just sleep deprived. So since I had the surgery last Tuesday, I feel $1 million. I'm
Wow.
again.
That's
And
great.
if I had have known what I know now, I would have paid $1 million to feel like this, you know, if that's what it costs. So it's amazing.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, really, really awesome result. So
That's good
So
to
it
hear.
turns out, Chris, we've been right all along, because every time Lou speaks, we get feedback going, I think there's a screw loose there.
Screw loose. Yes, absolutely.
it
That
has
was the
been
one I had here as well.
literally.
Great minds, mate. I was actually hoping you rocked up full of endone, Lou, so you wouldn't talk so much.
I've taken
If you got any left, just post it down, will you? It'd be good.
Oh, mate, I got a cupboard full at the moment. I broke a rib last week, so I've been a barrel of laughs.
Was that from boxing again?
That was, yeah. So when a 40-year-old man thinks he's a professional boxer and tries to fight a 30-year-old bloke who is a professional boxer, he often ends up in trouble. So I haven't been able to laugh without crying for a couple of weeks.
Gosh. Boys will be boys. Anyway,
Wine, before we talk, let's get wine happening.
What are we
let's
drinking?
No competition this week. Listen, we may or may not be graced with the presence of the great one from Belgium. I'm not sure. I haven't heard from him.
Yep.
I think he got over there and realised that no one was bugging him, so he's taken advantage, because I've barely heard
Good on
two
him.
words from him.
Good
and
on him.
Good on him.
I'm-
It's time to switch off and be with the family. So
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute a bit more. Go on, Lou. What are you drinking?
absolutely. So this week, guys, I have a winery literally 500 meters down the road from me, Cassegrains. I'm not sure if you ever heard of them, but they're a local.
Hang on.
What?
You have what?
A winery,
How
That's
far?
what I just.
500 meters.
Oh, this.
No. So
What?
she complains, she bitches and moans. Oh, we don't get good wines in Port Macquarie. We don't have bottle shops. We don't have, I can't do it. Oh, this competition's unfair. I'm a woman. Woe is me. And you've got a what? A
A
winery.
500 meters.
I have a full
500,
winery 500 meters down the road.
not
Yeah.
500 kilometres, 500
500
meters.
meters. So they're a local winery.
So full of shit.
Stop it.
That's like the other woman we used to have. Megs' neighbour used to be was a sommelier.
Yeah.
Oh,
She
wow.
used to complain she couldn't find good wines. Go ask your neighbour.
Well, look,
Anyway.
Cassegrain Winery just down the road. So this is a Cab Sav and Merlot 2019. Quite a nice little decoration there. But we actually had our Christmas party there, I think year before last actually, because last year we were in the Hunter Valley. But a local family that have been around forever around here, and I thought time to support some locals, and why not?
What's it called, Lou? What's it called?
In terms of the name,
Yeah, Cassie
Cassegrain.
Grain. Cassie Grain.
Cassegrain, yeah, Cassegrain. So
right,
yeah,
awesome.
let's see how it goes. But
Do you know if the grapes all the grapes are grown on site, or they import some grapes? Because often they'll grow one type and import the mix because it's a blend. Do you know if it's all?
I know that they have a very healthy and quite a large vineyard here. So I would imagine that they do source most of it here. But whether they get some in, it probably does tell me on the bottle, but I haven't read that far. They
can't get any good wine because there's no grapes here. There's no
And I live in the part of the world which has the most moderate climate, so it's pretty
Yeah,
good.
what could be good about this?
What could be good about this?
Oh, mate, I know it's great. We've all so far we've discovered there was actually a screw loose, and we've all thought she's full of shit. Mate,
But the screw's now been tightened, so the truth comes out because the screw's been tightened.
That's it.
What else are we going to find? What else are we going to find out
I'm
today?
getting much more sleep, and so I'm actually able to think clearer and remember things. So I forgot I had a winery just there.
Right, Chriso.
All right, I've got so last week I had a Grant Burge. This week I've got another Grant Burge, and I've had this on before, but this is the 2020. This is a Cab Sav. It's called Barossa Inc. It's from the Barossa, South Australia. Great drop. It's on special at the moment. It rates a 4.2 on Vivino, and it's just a really, really nice Cab Sav. Long legs on the aftertaste. Beautiful, really nice. Goes down well. And it's only I think about a $20 bottle of wine or something, so not expensive at all.
That's really good. I like the design.
Great wine.
Nice design too.
Yeah, great one. They make a Shiraz and a Cab Sav.
Yeah. Okay. Nice.
Yeah, Barossa Inc.
I wouldn't have designed a watch. I bought mine purely for the bottle. Check out this.
Nice. It is a nice bottle. I've seen that before. Yeah.
For a Chardonnay.
It's got a rose on the bottom.
That does have a rose on the bottom.
Yeah, I love it. You know what, Cam? You were just saying that you hadn't got Crystal a Mother's Day gift. Mate, just drink that, put a couple of roses in that, tear the stickers off, and you'll be right. Happy Mother's Day.
I've got all the gifts you can handle right here. Don't worry about it.
Oh, yeah, I'll leave that one alone.
So this is a Chardonnay from the south of France. It's a Gerard Bertrand, and I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm going to say Cote de Roses. So Cote de Roses, which is probably why the bottom is a rose.
Yes, yep.
It's only a 2020, so it's fairly young, but it is French. But the design, it took me, like once you get the lid on, it takes a bit of effort to get it off. So
Wow.
interesting bottle design. Really don't know how it's going to taste. It's cold, it's wet. Let's get into it.
Beautiful. Sounds
Cheers, guys. Pour yourself a glass, Kim, will you? I'm going to wait for you to bloody pour.
Oh, mate, you wouldn't let me finish talking. So
I'll let you finish talking, mate. We'd be over podcast would be done. Seriously. Cheers,
Cheers.
guys.
Cheers. Mm.
Tastes like $16 to me.
Well, I tell you what, my bottle was $19 and it's worth every cent and then some. That's delicious.
And where was it from, Lou?
Cassegrain Winery,
And where is that?
500 meters just that way, south. Like I can.
Can't buy a good one.
Hang on, did you say south? Did you say south, I think?
Yeah, no, south of me. Yeah.
Oh, south of me. I thought you said south, I think, but okay.
South of me. So I can nearly see it from my back boundary.
Oh, that's rough.
Wow.
Rough. Not like. Oh dear.
That's rough. Well, we had, mate, it's been a big week. We had team bonding day yesterday, so that ended a little less than sober. It's been young Eleanor's birthday today, so that was a long lunch, and now we've got wine and wisdom. So
Lovely.
you guys are frozen.
No, we're not frozen. We can see each other really well. You're the ones
Apologies for the
frozen.
video quality. I don't know what's going on with the internet and carry on, but it's rubbish. So.
That's the gift that you can give Crystal on Sunday. Just stay still all day. Don't do anything.
I usually do, mate. I usually do. Work smarter, not harder. Not harder.
Guys, what's making news? It's obvious, you know.
I just want to have a bit of a shot, and I can't believe that that young toddler was left on that bus in Rockhampton for 6 fucking hours. Excuse the expression. I thought, you're at a bloody daycare, and obviously they're going to pick up the kids. How do they leave one child on the bus for that long?
I know, it's horrendous.
In Rockhampton, from what I understand, that's a hot bloody place, right?
Rockhampton, it's like Thailand or Bali. The humidity is 95%.
Yeah.
It was 28 degrees on that day, and to leave a 3-year-old in a bus, like, I don't understand. Is there some old guy driving the bus and like a 15-year-old barking the roll that, you know, just doesn't? I don't know. How does this happen? It's so sad, and so it's just like, you think of the importance of a job, and like, in terms of picking kids up and then getting them to school, it's probably the most important thing of the day.
Right.
Why is there not procedures or things in place that, like, is there a role, like at a primary school or a high school or even at a university, there's a role. You get marked out, you get marked out. How hard is it?
We picked up 6 and only 5 got off the bus. How hard is it?
Listen, I think
it's terrible.
Imagine, I'm actually not joining your pile on because it's as tragic as, and imagine being the people who accidentally did it. It's not like when I first heard kid left on a bus for 6 hours, I thought, parents in playing the pokies, because that's what you usually hear. But it appears to be a tragic mistake, and yes, it shouldn't be able to happen. But those people who, you know, if the kid, hopefully the kid pulls through, and regardless, those people involved are going to live with it for the rest of their life. So
yeah, absolutely right, Cam. You're right, but we've got to be able to learn, or not we, but these institutions have got to be able to learn from that mistake.
100%, mate. It should never happen. But it wasn't an intentional act.
No, definitely not. I mean, you hear these stories, and there was a case in America where a guy unusually was taking his son to school, daycare, forgot that the kid was in the back of the car, and went to work. And it wasn't until his wife rang him and said, when did, you know, what happened? Why did you drop him off? He remembered that he left the kid in the car, because it wasn't something that he usually did. And then there was this big thing about the marriage wasn't good, wasn't intentional, and so forth. So we know, you know, if it was a mum or dad, you're right, Cam, someone, you know, playing pokey or whatever, there could have been an intentional reason. It was definitely unintentional, but it doesn't make it any less tragic for the family of that child.
No, I wasn't taking away from the tragedy. I was just saying we don't need to kick the people who did it, because you imagine how much they're kicking themselves. That's all.
Yeah, that's true.
Just defending a common man, mate, like a good labourer. I want to lay the boot in. Can I lay the boot in?
Who we lay the boot into?
Teachers.
Oh, here we go. What'd you
Why?
look over your shoulder when you said that?
Because speaking of leaving kids in cars, if mine don't stop screaming outside this window, there's going to be.
There's going to be kids in coffins.
So what's
The middle one's stirring up the little one, and she's screaming, and I'm going to lose it the minute.
Well, don't worry, we can't hear them. We can't hear them. So,
You can't hear them, mate.
but what's the gripe on the teachers' cam is with regarding?
We had a strike. We had a strike 2 days ago, wanting a pay rise. We had in the middle of an election campaign. Funny how that works, and 3 months after we've just got back to school after 2 years of homeschooling kids.
Yeah.
Right. The kids have been through the ringer and lost so much time at school over the last couple of years that we're not going to feel the ramifications for that for the last 10 years. And the problem I have, so I've said it many times on here, usually when I'm laying the boot into teachers, I've got some very good friends who are teachers. The problem I have is all the narrative we see in the media and everything is pay rise. So they've been offered 2.5%. They want more than that. They're going on strike. And then my friends are on Facebook defending themselves, and I've been very quiet because I'm not going to personally attack them, but they're obviously people have been. So they're on Facebook and their defense is, it's not about the money. We need more time. We've been overworked. We've turned into administrators more than we've been doing paperwork more than we've been teaching. And that seems to be the main gripe. Well, if that's the main gripe, get your story straight, for one. Right? Don't let your bosses get on TV and run around and say it's all about money, because it's endearing you to nobody. Right? And then if time's really the issue, maybe you have the same 4 weeks off a year that everyone else in the country has to have instead of 6 or 8.
12.
Maybe
12.
wake up, whatever, maybe 12 weeks. Maybe instead of coming to school, they have a preparation day. So your school holidays end, right? And then the first day back is a teacher day. So then your kids don't go back then because that's when they're doing their prep for the year. How about, having...
Like you had two preparation days.
Yeah. How about you could have, if you're on the same holidays as everyone else in the country, you could have 8 weeks of preparation, couldn't you? You could do 8 weeks of paperwork.
Yeah.
So we're forgetting that the most important thing in all of this is the kids. Listen, I'm a business owner, so it's a bit different. But you know what? I don't take any holidays during the year. I haven't since we opened because it's a new business and all that. I get a few days off over Christmas if I'm lucky. You know why? Because staff need me, clients need me, business is in a position where I can go and have a month off. So I don't. So if time is your issue and you've got 12 weeks holidays, maybe come back to the real world, right? Don't, when everyone gets up to you and says, listen, I've had to homeschool my kids for the last 2 years, where's my pay rise, right? Don't get all defensive and go, well, that's not what it's all about, because that's what you're letting the television tell everyone it's all about. And it is about money. Of course it's about money. So one, how is money going to give you more time? Right? How is 5% or whatever increase you want going to help you teach my kid to read or write better? Because at the moment, the levels of education is abysmal. The teaching standards are fucking horrible. And if you want more time, take less time off.
Yeah.
There's your answer.
Yeah.
It's woe is me bullshit. And
yeah,
it's not a personal attack, but in a kind of a way it is. Like, who are you?
Look at it in a realistic sort of way.
A couple of
I don't know what a teacher's wage is. What's a teacher's wage? I don't know, 60, 50, 70?
Well, they start on 70, I think.
You have to be 70 or 75.
Okay, so they're starting on 70 and they get 12 weeks holiday a year. And you're right, Kim, and they're now bitching and moaning about not having enough time.
No, but they're not bitching and moaning about having enough time internally, I don't reckon. They're bitching and moaning about money. And then when we, the parents, who have to have days off work to cover these strikes, they're going, oh, but we never signed up to be administrators. I read that they're posting all this shit off their websites. We never signed up to be administrators. We signed up to teach children. Okay. Fucking do your paperwork in your spare time like the rest of us have to.
Mm.
So the normal Australians, we get 4 weeks holiday a year, so we work 11 out of every 12. Effectively, they work 9 out of every 12.
Mm.
So it's almost 20% less than the rest of the society. So you could put an extra 20% onto their wage, you could say.
And let's not
If
forget,
they're working, mate,
mate,
you're right. You're on a good wicket.
let's not forget that their work hours are 9 till 3.
Yeah, but
Well, they're not. Look, but
there's stuff to do afterwards. I get it.
Heaps of it.
yeah, I think
5 days a week for 40 weeks a year, you're at school to be with the kids from 9 till 3. And yes, you might have paperwork to do from 3 till 6. Tough shit.
Yeah.
Honestly, tough shit.
Yeah.
Most people come out of school or university and have to take a job for $30,000 a year. And they get 4 weeks holidays, and they usually have to work 6 days for the privilege, and they may or may not get overtime if they're lucky.
Yeah.
Half the EBA and the hospitality industry at the moment is you work public holidays, you don't get any extra time. So cry me a river and get back to work and teach your frigging kids, mate, because that's what you're paid to do.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think teachers are great, and I think teachers, they have obviously a big responsibility, and a lot of them do an amazing job. I think, you know, like I can speak from experience, like just given this last week with what's happened with my son and stuff like that. Obviously, he's not back at school yet and whatever, but I had his principal ring me on Sunday, just to touch base. How's he going? How's things? What's the latest, etc., etc. How can we help? I have had 3 phone calls from his PC teacher, just also touching base. How's things? Whatever else. I mean, I think there's, I don't know how many teachers are involved in this whole strike action, whether it's 80% or 50% or whatever. I think there's a lot of teachers that enjoy doing what they're doing and happy to keep doing what they're doing and not get involved with this movement or whatever you want to call it. But, you know, it's like, I guess, every school's different and every situation's different. I don't know. I don't understand how this works, but is it just the public school system, Cam, that's striking? It is, isn't it?
Yeah, just the government schools. And
yeah.
They're doing it. Listen, you always whinge about your pay, but it's funny you walk off 2 weeks in the middle of an election campaign, right? It's funny how the unions run Labor, and it's funny how the unions have told you to walk off the job now. But if that isn't showing how out of touch the population is, they interview people on the news, and everyone deserves to get their rights, and everyone should have the ability to ask if they're not happy at work for better conditions. Got no problem with that whatsoever. But read the room, man. Read the room.
Yeah,
everyone's doing their best. That's all. Lou, the people calling you about your son, they're probably not doing it because they're teachers. They're doing it because they're good humans, right?
That's exactly
the two aren't mutually exclusive, right? There's no issues. Like I said, some very good friends of mine are teachers. Read the fucking room. Honestly.
And the point I was trying to make was my son's in the Catholic school system, so it's a complete different setup to the public. And, you know, right through COVID, the homeschooling thing, it was amazing. There was so much support. There was so much help. The teachers were working really long hours, and even though they weren't physically in the classrooms teaching our kids, they were working a lot of behind the scenes stuff. They had to adapt like we all had to. And, you know, I think the difference is it's a different situation for those in the different systems, I suppose.
They're not unionised. They're not unionised, Lou. Yeah. So they haven't got someone in their ear going, you do this. And the problem with unions is if you don't do it, then you have to go down. I mean, there's been royal commissions into how the unions treat people. Yeah. I've seen it not in the Teachers Federation, but I've seen it in the construction industry. What happens if you don't don't adhere to the union politics? I've been part of that firsthand. So you imagine being the one bloke at school that says, you know what, I think you're kidding yourselves. We need to teach the kids, so he stays for the day, and what all the other teachers, and that's
you know what, that guy was probably in the private system. He wouldn't be a public school teacher.
You know what happens, mate? And that's every union, and this is what we talked about with the election stuff. People, you know, the narrative is Labor's for the people, Liberals against the people. Liberals for the people employing the people to keep them employed, to keep food on their table, and Labor just wants to rob those people blind, and everyone will lose their job because of it. We can't afford everyone to get pay rises every bloody 5 minutes. We can't.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then
You guys have all been agents before you've been business owners. We've all been there, right? And
Yeah.
we've all started in real estate at that ground entry level sort of position where we ask people to come in now, and they come in at what's the base wage of real estate?
42,000.
42,000. And how many hours are they doing without no guarantee of commission? How many hours would they be doing? Easy. Now, we don't ask them to do extra, but that's the hours they put in to start creating an amazing career, right?
60, 70, mate.
Easy. They're doing
They're
exactly right. 60, 70 hours a week to get where they want to be, to push it, make a better life for themselves and so forth. At 42 grand a year.
Yeah,
With
exactly.
no guarantee of commission.
Yeah.
Here's the thing that makes it very hard to have this argument. So on the news last night, it comes out that the reason the government is not bending to the teachers, their excuse is we can't afford it. But due to this month, all the people making that decision are due for a 15% pay increase. 15%. So the government people, the bureaucrats making the decision not to give the teachers a pay rise, are taking themselves a 15% pay rise in the next month. So that makes it really, really hard to have that argument, isn't it? No, you can't have a pay rise. We can't afford it because then I can't afford my 7th house. Like, so that is where it gets hard, and I have sympathy. But apparently, it's not about the money for the teachers on the ground. The teachers defending themselves on social media. It's got nothing to do with money. So get your story straight. Is it about money or isn't it about money? Do you care about the kids or don't you care about the kids? Is it about time? Take less holidays. I was on your campaigning 2 weeks ago for 20 weeks holidays for you, but now I realise you don't have enough time. So I'm sorry, you can't have your 20 weeks.
Yeah.
Right? Anyway, that was my.
Anyway, that's.
I wanted to get that out.
Good little vent, Cam. I think it was well needed, and probably a lot of people agree.
Next.
Yeah. What about bloody interest rate talks, you guys? My God, and it's happened.
Well, first time in it was it 11 years. First time in 12 years. We've had an increase to 2.5 basis points, wasn't it?
Yep. Sure was.
The cash rate now sitting at the 1%, right?
0.35.
0.35, yeah.
We've gone from 0.1, so nothing, to 0.35, so nothing.
We're close to nothing.
What about
the banks will take that straight away. The banks will be up.
Yeah, they will. Yeah.
They already have.
Yeah. They start putting up the interest rates before there was even an announcement.
Yeah.
They always try and control the market. So where's it going to go, and how far are we going to go, and what's going to happen to the market, guys? What do you think?
Well, look, we had this discussion in our meeting this morning, and I think, as we all know, we've all been doing it long enough. There's no such thing as a bad market to a good agent, and the reality is that property prices are always fantastic because a well-priced property will always sell, and sell for a good price in the market that we're in. I think a lot of people are expecting that, given that we've also got an election looming and interest rates have risen and there's talk of 7 more before the end of the year, we're going to have a lot of people sitting on the fence. And that might be the perception of a lot of people. But look, what do we know? Like, we know, we were talking about this morning, usually for the first 2 or 3, if not 4 interest rate rises, the market goes into a bit of a frenzy, and this is what we were talking about. There's probably going to be more buyers than we had previously. There's obviously going to be a lot more stock for those people that are hitting panic button probably prematurely as well. They're gonna, we can't, if this happens, we can't afford, so we better sell kind of situation. So I think if anything, it's going to give a bit of a headwind to the market, and we'll have quite a lot of activity for the next 3 or 4 months or 5 months. And, we might hit a plateau somewhere down the track where property prices just sit. But, realistically, it's going to hurt a lot of people, just coinciding with the fact that the price and the cost of living, as we've been speaking about, like I went to buy a friggin' lettuce yesterday from my local supermarket. It's $9.50 for an
$9. We'll pay in $6, and I thought we'll get ripped off.
$9.50
Bloody hell!
per
I
lettuce.
can get ahead of marijuana for less than that. Seriously. No, I don't smoke, guys. I don't smoke.
I need to know your bloke, Chriso.
Seriously,
Carry-on
guys,
prices are surging with inflation. So
Oh.
I've been told.
Away from the
$9.50 for a lettuce, $9 a kilo for tomatoes. Petrol's is through the roof. Everything's gone up. We understand that, but I guess it's just a hard pill to swallow for everybody, given what we've just been through with COVID. And, particularly like talking about my area, and I know everybody's had, stuff happen and the pandemic's been a global thing, but in our area and Sydney and where you guys are, there's been floods, there's been fires, there's been droughts, there's been God knows what, and it feels like a real slog. It has been for the last couple of years. We're just coming, and even just the teachers thing, we're talking about homeschooling, and people are just trying to get back to a bit of normality, and next minute, bang.
The drought. Can we bring back the drought? Fucking rained again.
I know. I've never wanted, a drought again more in my life. It's so wet up here. It's so wet. It's crazy. But anyway.
Selling a house on the slope with a cellar, it's not a good after it's been raining. Anyway.
So what are you guys thinking with regards to what might happen?
Look, I've only ever worked in Sydney. You guys have had a bit of a change in areas. Not much for you, Cam, but I know, Lou, you've gone from Central Coast further north. I've always felt that sort of things happen in Sydney and there's a bit of a ripple effect out from there. 100%. We're seeing the market in Sydney slowing down considerably. Clearance rates and auctions have dropped off dramatically. We were at 90-odd%. It's down to 70s, in the sort of 70s, mid to high 70s at the moment. Buyer interest has come back. There is still a shortage of stock in some areas. I mean, I've got a house in my area at the moment where it's usually about 9 homes sitting on the market. There's only 3 available. So it's still holding some prices in some areas. And then some areas we're starting to get stock levels back. I think with this interest rate rise, I think it's the start. If we get a 2 or 3 more, it's going to put a little bit of stress on it. I think we're starting to plateau already. We're starting to see that we've come off the heat. We're starting to cool a little bit. We may come back probably 10%, maybe a little bit more, but we've got to remember we've made huge increases over the last 2 years. Yeah. Some places 30, 40%. So to come back 10, it's really nothing. But at the end of the day, like you said, Lou, and I can't remember where I saw these stats that someone had done it from every time there was a major issue with the market. The amount of transactions only varied 10 to 15%. Because people still need to buy and sell. And if you're buying and selling in a relative market, you're buying and selling. It's still the same. It's
a necessity of life. It's like food, shelter. It's something that people always will need, regardless of whatever the economy's doing, whatever the world's doing. People are still going to need to buy and sell. People upsize, downsize. Yeah. Divorces happen. Everything that comes into play with it. So that, like I said to my team, there's no such thing as a bad market to a good agent. Yeah. The best thing about the market that we're going into is a lot of the agents that have been that have joined the industry in the last 3 years, they haven't experienced what it's like to service an owner, to manage a listing and to manage the ups and downs of, keeping an eye on what's happening around and really giving that tough feedback to a vendor, because a lot of people, it's the ego that stops that, whereas we are the agents that tell our owners what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. Whereas the last 3 years, it's been agents that have, they haven't had to manage a buyer. Like managing a seller's hard, managing a buyer when you don't have them at your disposal like we do at the moment. It's a real.
You need to negotiate.
Quite a few areas will be weeded out in this process, which is good for the industry. Yeah. But this is it. We know what we're worth, and we know we charge what we do, and we're worth every cent. But it's in these markets that is where we can display that and show people why we are who we are and what we do.
The other thing I think that we've come out of the last 2 years where we're in this issue because the government was handing out so much money. All right. People have had more money to spend because they haven't been going to restaurants, they haven't been going out. So their bank accounts are filled up with whatever, whether it was JobKeeper, JobSeeker, just their general wage. They were forced to basically save their money. If they were smart, they were having more money. So a lot of these people went out the last 6 months and bought property and so forth. A lot of that money is starting to be used up now. whether it's they've bought a property or they've just used the money through living or whatever it is. So people are going to start holding back on the the luxuries. Thank you, the luxuries. They're going to start holding back on those. So that's going to stop this inflation that's been happening. So the lettuce will come down, tomatoes will come down, the price of eating out will come down because of all that. All the money is starting to be used up in the society. So the market has to slow. There has to be an adjustment in the market, I see.
The sad thing about that though, Chris, exactly what you're saying though, is just coming out of the pandemic, and there's small businesses out there that we all know, they're all still struggling. Like, you have your good little times where we've just had school holidays and, you know, places get busy and tourists come and they spend the money. But with this interest rate rise, and if there's more on the cards, what happens is that people stop doing the luxury things, eating out, spending and doing all this stuff. So all that happens there is these poor small businesses who are just trying to find their feet, they're back to struggling again, because the people aren't going, well, let's go out for dinner 3 nights a week. Let's buy takeaway every day for lunch. Let's get a coffee every morning. Let's do this, do that. You know, I mean, as you said, the government's been handing out money left, right and center, which is obviously it was needed, but we've got to find a balance where it doesn't affect people too drastically, because I think no one expected the pandemic. So we went into rescue mode.
I think it has to be a drastic change, Lou. I think it has to, because the pandemic was such a drastic measure to inject that much money. There has to be a drastic change for us to get back into balance.
Totally agree. I'm just hoping it doesn't affect
too much,
yeah, the people that are already suffering.
No. Firstly, I'm really looking forward to this weekend, because every time the market changes like this is a weekend where every buyer still comes to a property and says, nah.
I had one of those last weekend.
Markets, they've been warming up. Listen, they've been warming up for the last month and a half, I reckon. They've been warming up for the last month and a half, but this is their time to shine. This is where the low ballers who know more about the market than anybody else come in and tell us our job, and I can't wait. Market's going to crash, mate.
Yeah.
Market's going to crash. Why would you buy now? I'm going to hold off for 6 months. And then I go, what are you doing?
I think.
What are you
doing
here? It's off, get out.
So here's the thing. All the talk of an interest rate rise had already done all the damage that the interest rate rise was going to do, which is scare the shit out of buyers, and buyer inquiries dropped off a cliff, and it has done for the last 2 months probably.
Yeah.
Prices have already started to come back. There's less urgency. Here's my point of view. If you're a buyer and you're going to wait till the market shits itself and there's going to be 7 interest rate rises or however many they are, that's good. What percentage are you going to be paying when you eventually decide to buy? Congratulations, well done. You can run around and brag to everyone that you got a loan at 5% when everyone else got it at 2%.
Yeah, true.
Locked in for 5 years.
Secondly, if you're a seller and you go, shit, I've missed the boat, but I really want to go somewhere, but now we're going to hang on for 5 years or whatever. One, you've let one interest rate rise cruel your dreams, but 2, wouldn't you rather sell now before there is 6 or 7 or 8 interest rate rises, because things aren't going to get better in the short term, they're only going to get worse. And then I go to people, money's the second cheapest it's ever been, ever, except for last week when it was a little bit cheaper. It is the second cheapest it's ever been, ever. You can still get a home loan for under 2%. I don't care that interest rate rises. You can sit there and do this all you want. Their maths is horrible. They go, I've got an offer 2 days ago, $200,000 under the price range. Oh, mate, interest rate rises have gone up. I said, yeah, not by 10%. Not by 20%.
Yeah.
So what is going to happen is, and it happens like when they announced the Banking Royal Commission, it went like that overnight. We had 2 years of those sorts of conversations, and everything you said, Lou, about, I love it, because every untrained agent is now in a world of trouble. I'm already seeing it. We're already seeing we're in a market where, except for Wisebury properties, the houses are getting, we're already seeing it getting sold by the second agent, in some cases the third agent, not the first agent, because they haven't been able to have a tough conversation at the listing appointment, let alone 2 weeks in and a month in. We are lucky. I don't take it for granted that we're in an industry or in a job where people, for good, bad or ugly, always need to sell houses. I don't think we have to worry, regardless of what we may think on a day-to-day basis. The people who run the country aren't stupid. They're not going to do this to a point where everyone loses their house. They can't.
That's right.
You can't, as a country and as an economy, we can't have millions of people on the street. We can't have millions of homeless children. You know, everyone's saying, oh, the whole world's going to die and everyone's going to be out on their ass. And you know, we forget that if you do it the right way, and I'll emphasize that, if you apply for a loan the right way, you don't get assessed on what the interest rate is. You get assessed 3% higher.
Exactly.
Because the bank wants to make sure that if interest rates go up by 3%, not 0.35, by 3, which is another
12,
15 interest rate, right?
Yeah, 12 interest
You can
rate.
still afford.
Exactly.
You can still afford your loan. So I think, apart from the people who put too much credence in the news, the only people whose sphincter would be tightening a little is people who lied to get their home loan. And then you sort of
people that
get embarrassed. Money's the second cheapest it's ever been, ever.
I like that, Cam. I like that, mate. It's good.
We're going to be.
And the next rate, it's the third cheapest.
And listen, when I got my first mortgage, it was at 3%. Everyone said, no. And then here's the thing: the people who are most risk averse are probably the baby boomers and our parents and the parents above them. And their whole line ever has been, oh, you lucky kids. I remember when it was 17%.
Exactly.
So now,
house prices were 50.
Now, if I hear one of them complain that there was an interest rate rise to 0.35, I'm going to say, have you forgotten when interest rates were 17% all of a sudden?
Yeah, but most homes back then cost about the price of a new car today.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, even if you want to take the cynic's view, there is that much corruption and that much self-serving in government that what we said last year, prices were going to keep going up because we're moving into an election cycle and no government trying to get elected or in government was going to let the housing market shit itself, because at the moment it's the only thing holding their country afloat. The same goes. That's why they're not going to they're not going to raise interest rates 26 times unless we can afford it. Right?
So where's it going to stop, guys? What's the prediction? Where's it going to stop?
Look,
what are we going to get?
I said last week, and I've been saying for 6 months, we're going to come back 10%, I reckon, by the end of the year. They're saying by the end of 2023, we'll be down 10% the next 3 months, I reckon. That's
okay,
what's
where's the interest rate's going to go? And where's
and then
that
it'll probably level off. Some areas.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about money, mate. I don't.
I'm going back to what you said, Chris, a short while ago, is Sydney seems to feel the effect more drastically and more immediately. Where I am and probably where you are, Cam, you go close to Sydney, you basically are Sydney, so it's probably not the same for you. But what I find here on the mid-north coast is whatever happens in Sydney, usually we're 3 to 6 months behind that trend. But we tend to be a little bit more sheltered because we're a lifestyle area opposed to like a major city.
Well, it doesn't change the mentality. The way shit travels uphill from Sydney here, right? So whatever happens in Sydney, you're right, Lou, and now that Central Coast has basically been absorbed into Sydney, it used to be sort of 3 to 6 months here too, but now it's immediate. Now it's immediate, right? So
I imagine,
because our markets are driven by Sydney buyers. Now, you you get a lot of Sydney, Lou, but you get a shitload from the Central Coast, an absolute shitload, right? So all that happens is the bloke in Sydney loses 10% on his house. He comes to the Central Coast and says, well, I'm not paying you full tilt. I lost 10% on mine, so you're going to lose 10% on yours. And then the bloke from the Central Coast says, well, I lost 10% on my house, so you're going to lose 10% of yours. So, Lou, I predict for Port Macquarie, you guys are coming back 10% in the next 6 months, probably.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, normally we are that 3 to 6 months behind trend, but I think, by the end of the year, we'll probably see 10% decrease as well, but I can't see it being much more than that. And I can't really see, look, I personally can't see 7 interest rate rises before Christmas, but I'm no, specialist or in the field at all whatsoever. But I think, it's a required thing that needs to happen. Like you said, Chris, and it needs to be somewhat drastic as well, till we find that even balance again. But, if interest rates increase by 1 full percent, I wouldn't be surprised.
We're still under 3%.
Look, the thing is, like, the banks aren't silly either. Like,
We go 1%, we're at 1.35%. Jesus Christ. What I don't understand, and I don't know, you guys, I hope someone can answer this. If TL was here, he might be able to. I don't understand, because I don't understand finance very well.
Yeah.
How, when an iceberg lettuce costs $9 and people are already struggling to fill their fuel tanks, how does raising interest rates solve the cost of living problem at the moment, or stop inflation? Because that's what I don't get. People can't stop spending on iceberg lettuce. They have to have their lettuce, right? So yes, they might stop buying sneakers, but they need petrol and they need food. So I don't understand how adding to someone's mortgage, and like I've just bought a house and I'm about to sign the loan docs, and I'm like, the loan docs have probably got a higher percentage of them than the one we were quoted when we applied for the loan. That happens that quickly, obviously. Yeah. And I've bought a house knowing full well that in 6 months' time it's probably going to be worth 100 grand less or 150 grand less, but long-term thing. I don't understand how raising interest rates helps anything. I don't
understand that either, and I'm not sure. But what I do know is the banks aren't silly, and we spoke to our banker because we bought a house recently as well, and the question was, should we fix now? And he said, well, the policy that's just come out through this particular bank 6 months ago, that if you did want to fix your loan now, you've got to, it will be fixed at between 4 and 5%, and it's a fixed for 5-year term minimum. And that's a policy they adopted 6 or 7 months ago. So they, but like he said, Lou, or Steve, whatever, like, interest rates aren't going to get there or anywhere near there. So don't be so silly to do that now. Don't be one of these panic merchants that goes, oh my God, just see what happens. We only know today.
Can you blame? I had a laugh. I had a listing appointment with a guy, and he's a fairly affable sort of Lebanese fella. So we were getting along, was telling each other what we really think and, what the Lebanese are like. And I said, mate, you watch the news tonight, I guarantee you the first thing Peter Overton says is, big banks raise interest rates. How will this affect your budget? First thing that came on, mate, in the 10 minutes before the news, Peter Overton come on, he goes, the banks have raised interest rates. How will it affect your budget? Find out at 6 o'clock tonight. I said, mate, this is, but how can you?
Yeah.
And my broker says his worry is, he said, mate, same thing, don't worry about it. And we weren't. I'm not. But the people who are going to be in trouble are the people who fixed their loans, probably first home buyers who fixed their loans 12 months ago at 1.9% or 2% or 2.5%. And by the time they come out of their fixed term, are all of a sudden going to have to pay 3.5% or 4% because with all the government incentives, they're borrowing 95% of the loan essentially.
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing is now with the banks specifically, there's a lot more competition than there were when they like 10, 12 years ago when we had our last rate increase. There's all those second and third tier lenders that are offering super cheap loans. So even if the market does go up, you can go shopping. You can go shopping for cheaper loans. The big banks don't have the monopoly anymore. And I think this is why the big banks are starting to fight a little bit more to keep their customers.
Yeah, I really wish I understood it a bit better. And I'm just thinking now, I got a letter in the mail yesterday. I have a life insurance policy and an income protection policy, and I was reading it, and I never even read them. I'm just, oh yeah, whatever, straight in the drawer, whatever. But I was reading it, and it said why your premium has drastically increased this year. And I was like, okay, fair enough, I'm getting older, whatever. But when I read the fine print, it was actually saying that because the interest rates have been so low, the insurance companies obviously investing the premiums haven't been getting the returns that they've been expecting, hence why premiums are increased. Then the penny suddenly dropped and I thought, hang on a minute, is every insurance company the same? Like your NRMAs, your GIOs, your Budget Direct, your UIs, is that how it works? Do all the insurance companies invest our premiums and earn interest off that, which allows them to do what they do? And interest rates are being so low. Is that what happens? Because you think about the natural disasters we've had in the last 2 or 3 years. Can you imagine the amount of insurance money that's being paid out at the moment? And if their interest rates have been so low and
I think they're okay.
I think they're okay as well, just quietly.
I think you're okay. We're not pulling out a bloody violin for an insurance company on this show.
No, but it just made me think, how does this work and why does the premiums increase? I get it, but it just made me think about all the insurance claims and things that must have been going on in the last couple of years. And that's a lot of money. And if the interest rates do affect them as well, I don't know. I wish I understood it better, but long and the short of it, interest rates are going up, guys.
Yeah, I think I've been sitting here thinking they raise interest rates hoping we'll stop spending money. By not spending money, the price of goods has to come down because they have to get people to buy them.
Yeah.
And that stops inflation, right? But the problem I have with that is the supply is so short of everything and you're paying $9 for lettuce. That's not going to change. They're not going to they can't physically drop the price of lettuce because you can't get them at the moment. Like it's a problem. They're not doing it as a cash grab in the food industry. They're doing it because of the short supply and the cost of imports and all that sort of stuff. So anyway, but the bottom line is we're going to be okay. All right.
No, to be okay. That's right.
If you're selling, you're thinking of, on real terms, if you're thinking of selling in the next 3 to 6, 12 months, 2 years, do it now because you probably won't see this money again for that time. If you're thinking of buying though, yes, in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, you might get a cheaper price, but you're going to be paying a much higher interest rate. So pick your poison and you'll have maybe more competition if everyone's holding off.
Exactly.
And
pros and cons to both sides of the doesn't matter which way you
just don't turn up to my open homes and go, mate, going to wait for the market to shit itself, because there's no point you being there, brother. There's no point you being there. So either there's one or two things. Either you got nothing better to do with your weekend or you're full of it, because I know you want to buy the house and you're just trying it on. Well, I'm sorry. We've been around longer than 5 minutes. And I know.
That's exactly right.
Why are you here at the open? Get back in your rocking chair on your veranda with your banjo and have fun. Seriously.
No, but there is, we had one deal, and this is, we had one deal where a buyer rescinded an offer because he made an offer and then he said his broker and his solicitor actually got in his ear and said, mate, don't buy now. The interest rates are about to go up. Prices will come down. Don't buy. And I'm like, okay, well, I think you're copping bad advice, but whatever. And I thought he was having a lend of us. Anyway, that property you wanted to buy, the owners reviewed their expectations and been much more flexible. So we rang him today and said, mate, good news. You don't have to pay that anymore. You can probably pay this and still get the same house. Oh, no, we're going to, based on what we've been told, we're going to hold off for 4 or 5 years. And in my head, I'm going, how long's the real estate cycle? So not only is he not buying at the top, he's going to wait till the next top comes.
Unbelievable.
Higher interest
Who is advising you? And he was a Chinese fellow and the language barrier not great. So I couldn't have a conversation the way I'd like to do it. But I'm like, mate, in 5 years, you're probably going to pay an extra 200 grand for the same house.
The funny thing, there's this wonderful Chinese proverb that says, when's the best time to plant a tree? 10 years ago. When's the next best time? Yes, today. And it's the same with the houses.
Yeah.
And that's what you say. I've said it at auctions when I've held an auction and I can't get any bids. I'm going, don't worry. If you're not happy with your purchase, I'll buy it back from you in 10 years' time. Because we know it's going to be double.
Yeah.
I'll pay the same price you pay today in 10 years' time because if you're not happy with your purchase.
Yeah.
Because we know it's going to go up. You know it's going to increase. There's nothing wrong with real estate. And when, like you said, Cam, solicitors and stuff get involved, really? Man.
Who's
some of these people, we call them the professional deal killers, the solicitors, the brokers, well, not necessarily the brokers, the solicitors, the parents, you be careful, son, like interest rates could get up there where I used to pay, like it's just ridiculous.
Is your solicitor going to help you find your next home? No, well, what are you listening to him?
Exactly. Are they going to lend you the extra 150 grand that you'll need to be paying in a few years' time? And by the way, interest rate's probably going to be 5% then, like seriously. But anyways.
COVID was the worst I've seen it when COVID first hit. And look, given none of us knew what was going to happen when COVID first hit. I don't know about you two, but I shit myself. I had 2 businesses and I thought I'm going to lose these. When it first came out, that second week of March 2020, I thought, oh shit, what are we doing here? And that was when Commonwealth Bank came out and said market's going to drop by 33%.
Yeah.
The news put it all over. And about the first open homes, buyers walk in, market's going to drop by 33%. Okay. All right, and I remember no one bought a house for 7 weeks from the second week of March till Easter, however long that was. No one bought a house. I didn't sell a house in 7 weeks. And after Easter, everything kicked off again. Anyway, the egos that came in and did all this ring us in December and go, oh, we're ready to buy now. We've still got our $1 million. Sorry, brother, you now need 1.3. And then a week later, you now need 1.4. And now it's like that was in 2020. So prices gone up 45% since then. And that's the point. You can't, everyone likes a deal and everyone likes to think they beat the market. You can't. You buy when you're ready. If the bank says, if you're lucky enough for a bank to go, we will loan you money to buy a house, buy the friggin' house, because you don't know tomorrow whether you lose your job or in 6 months' time whether there's another COVID. You don't know.
Life's too short. You find the house that's right for your family.
Exactly.
When's the best time to sell? When you want to go somewhere? Now, unless we're talking about investment's all about capitalizing, right?
Yeah.
But you still can't pick it. You don't know when prices have gone down until they've gone down, and you don't know prices have gone up until they've gone up. So you've missed it anyway.
Yeah.
Right? But everyone is worried about missing the market. You made 30% last year. You've probably lost 5 now. Okay, so you're 25% in front. I put a sold sticker on a house today that Courtney bought off us for $633,000 in April 2020, and we just put a sold sticker up at $930,000 in May 2022. She's made 300 grand in 2 years.
How old's April?
Courtney.
How old's Courtney? Sorry.
She looks a lot younger than me. I'd say 30s.
Mate, 30-year-olds make that money, and now she's going to probably go buy forever after home.
You know what? If she'd sold 4 months ago, she might have made $320,000. Who cares? You still made $300,000. That's everyone's made so much money.
In 2 years, exactly.
2 years. She's made more than
Was she living there? Was she living there?
She was living there.
Was she living there? Tax-free.
No?
Yeah.
Tax-free.
Exactly.
I charged you a fortune to sell it, so it will only be 100 by the time I send it.
So she made 20 grand.
No, it's funny. I got to know him a bit. I didn't know Ellie sold her the property, so I didn't have a lot to do with it when she bought it. And then obviously listing it, I had a bit more to do with it. Her and her family, they're all mad winos and they're all mad golfers. So right up
your
alley. And they said at the listing appointment, oh, I'm glad you like wine. Would you like a bottle of this? It's a buttery Chardonnay. It's literally called buttery Chardonnay. Said,
right.
He goes, if you like it, we've got 6 cases of it you can have. And I'm like, no one's giving away 6 cases. I said, what's wrong with it? We can't drink it. It's the worst wine we've ever had in our life. We can't drink it, but maybe you can. So I took it back to the office and spat it out after a mouthful, and it's a horrible. It's a Chardonnay from New Zealand. You can't buy Chardonnay from New Zealand. That's your problem, right? So anyway, today she's made $300,000 in 2 years. We normally take a very nice bottle of champagne out anyway. $7.90 I spent. It was French. I don't know what it was. It had a gold medal on it. And I said, in honour of the buttery Chardonnay and the 300 grand you just made, please accept this $7.90 bottle of champagne.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's gold.
That is gold. Yeah.
Anyway.
What will be, and like we've already discussed and what we've said, everything will be fine. It's just a matter of managing our own mindset and managing our mindsets of our sellers, but also and our teams. But it's also again comes back to like there's no such thing as a bad market to a good agent, and we are all good, so we know that. It's just a matter of writing it out. It's like what you said, Chris, in 10 years, it's going to be worth double. Like I remember when I bought my first home, it was like 2001. And I was like, someone told me this place will double in 7 years. And I was like, no way. How is that even possible? That's just can't even fathom that. Well, sure enough, in less than that time, it doubled. And you know, and it's just proven time and time again. So I think no need to panic. Everybody just needs to stay
Look
calm.
after themselves, look after their families, find their forever after home, do whatever you need to do. If you're selling, sell. If you're buying, buy, and just understand real estate is not an overnight investment. It's not fucking cryptocurrency.
Exactly.
Buy it, live in it, enjoy it.
And 99% of the time, people are buying and selling in the same market, so it's all relative. It doesn't really matter
Buy and sell.
But we talk about, so the mindset, I don't know, we're probably going to run out of time to get on to our next topic. So let's finish this topic properly. So yeah, we got to, I always find it awkward. Does anyone else find it awkward? We're giving real estate agents advice, knowing full well that buyers and sellers are probably listening as well. And I go, oh shit. I always laugh when there's real estate trainers on Instagram going, and you tell your owner this and this and this. I'm like, how many owners do you think are actually watching? Probably more than real estate agents, right? But if you are a real estate agent coming into this market and you're not trained, I'm sorry for you. All right? Find a network to go and work for that actually trains their staff. If you're one of the lucky ones that works for a network that trains their staff like ours, rely on your training and understand that in this market, there's probably going to be more houses to sell than you've ever seen before in your life.
Absolutely.
And you know what I love? Look, we charge more than anybody else. I do, than anyone else I compete against. And if there was ever a time to pay your agent more, it's this market, right?
Absolutely.
It's this market. And the thing sellers will get in their head is, oh, they'll be desperate now because things aren't selling. No. Each agent's probably, every good agent's probably going to be carrying between 20 and 40 listings.
Absolutely, yeah, exactly.
In this market, it's better for the agent to advertise because the market,
not the time to be running around. Not the time to be running around taking the first person to offer you 1% in free marketing, right? If that doesn't raise a red flag, nothing will.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what I love about a bad market. Lou mentioned before the competition will disappear, but we also get to justify the money that we ask for.
Exactly.
Everyone says we're overpaid until they want their house sold in 5 minutes and it doesn't happen. And then all of a sudden they beg to overpay a good agent.
Yeah.
And if that's the mentality we can give to our staff, and if that's the mentality our staff go out there with, and if that's the mentality we can help convey to our vendors, these are prosperous times for everybody and prosperous for the vendors too.
Some of our best markets have been in these times where there's that drastic change. You know, it's when either the market takes off quick, but it's actually been better in my experience in these times because a lot more people, like there's been a lot of people that haven't sold that probably wanted to sell. Not because the prices, like they all know that they could have got a fantastic price, but there's been a lot of people that have been scared because of the shortage of stock, too scared to sell because where do I go? And can I find even anywhere to go? So I actually think what will happen now is anybody that's been sitting...
Well, problems fixed.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of stock available out there for people to make those changes. Chris has got a sore knee from falling down the stairs. I just seen that little grimace on your face.
Tables.
The thing about it, the logic about it is, right, regardless of whether you're paying 1% or 3%, 1% on $1 million is still a shitload of money. And 3% on $1 million is a shitload of money. Yep. But picking the wrong agent and losing $100,000, that's an even bigger shitload of money.
Right? Absolutely.
No, in the market we've come out of, we've had agents who really have been order takers because our buyers have been coming with offers beyond their owners' expectations. And they've really just been signing contracts and like waiters at a cafe, taking order and taking their owner and getting it accepted. So I think owners have lost money in the market we've come out of by the agent's skill, not pushing for the buyers to get that extra 10, 20, 50, 100 grand, like you said, Cam. Coming into this market, the agents with the skill, with the patience, the ability to communicate, will achieve a greater price, a greater result for their owners. And those agents that were order takers will struggle, and they will start to fall by the wayside.
Absolutely.
You've got to look at the form guide. If you're a prospective seller, you've got to look at form guide. And that's not to say someone who's been doing it 20 years is better than someone who's been doing it 2 months. But look at where they're from, look at the company they keep, and look at the track record of that company. If you've got someone coming to you that's only had 6 months in the industry, you might listen to this and go, well, I'll never touch them. That's not the case either, because I've got some guys who are 6 months in the industry and they've had more training than probably I ever got in my life. Right? But the experience needed to navigate these waters, I always tell people, right, I go, look, I'm cursed. I opened Carry On 6 months after Carry On, they announced the Banking Royal Commission. And we had 2 years of rubbish. I opened Barrow and a month later we got locked down because of COVID. I opened Killarney Vale and a month later we got locked down because of COVID. Now, we're one of the lucky industries that COVID turned into a blessing for us. But initially, I go back to March 2020, it wasn't, right? We didn't know what was going on. In between all of that, we've had floods, fires,
pandemic
in between. And a lot of people haven't come up in that market, and that experience is sure as hell going to help now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. How much time we got left, Cam?
We got
it's 6:05, mate. So let's we've been going for an hour or so. Our little mate didn't join us from Belgium, which I hope it's because he's having a bloody good time and he's under a table somewhere in a Belgian pub.
I don't know about that. It's probably only about 10 o'clock in the morning over there in Belgium at the moment. But
Hoang, I know, wouldn't let that stop him. So
it's great that he's over there and seeing his family and his parents, and I really hope they're doing well and that he's enjoying the time. And it's just that the other topic that we were going to talk about was our families and what they mean to us and how important they are. I think families and health there's nothing more important in life. Time's our most precious commodity and all the rest of it. And maybe that can be our next podcast. Who knows? It'll be great, actually. Thomas will be home and he can fill us in on all the joy he's had. But if you're listening, Thomas, I hope you're over there enjoying that amazing time with the family. And I don't know for certain, but I know through COVID that he probably didn't go there the last few years. And
hasn't been there for 3 years. 3
years. Well, there you go. So I hope that you're enjoying every second, and I'm sure you are, and spending that time with your parents, because it's important. And I can't wait to hear all about it and hope they're doing well.
No. I think we wrap it up there, guys. Everyone's probably happy that we're going to talk for 20 minutes less than usual. And
yes, and you've got your own listing appointment, so you can have an early mark and not be too.
That had nothing to do with what
right. I'm sure.
It was a big topic, and I didn't think we'd get so deep in interest rates, because it is what it is.
Relative, and
it's a big topic, absolutely.
Big topic, and it's a relative event in people's minds.
It's all anyone talks about at the moment. So you just, he's come. We're about to say,
hey, he's here.
We're about to leave. I was going to bed.
Oh my God.
Hey.
He's got up.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
We were just about to leave because we didn't have our little mate with us. I thought you'd been in a pub somewhere, but no.
I wouldn't join.
I've had to remind them it's too early to be in a pub in Belgium at the moment. It's only like 10 o'clock or something, isn't it? In the morning.
I gave a clue. I wrote something about underprivileged, and I thought.
I didn't see the comments, mate. That's public school. Us public school people have trouble reading, so.
Yeah, we're doing really well.
Oh, well, the interest rates over here in Europe is about, you can have that at 1.5. So we're doing okay in Europe.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh, no, not 1.5. Jesus.
Yeah,
Introduce us, man. Introduce us.
So you know, Dad,
I know, Dad. I've only met him on FaceTime before.
you don't want to know him, okay? Stay away.
I met
So we
Dad
have-
in Thailand.
He runs the office down south. It's just started. Right? And then we have Louise. Where's Louise? Say something, Louise.
Hi, how are you?
In Port Macquarie. Okay?
To anyone listening to the podcast and not watching us, I envy you for one, but two, Thomas has joined us from Belgium with his old man, who he hadn't seen in 3 years. So
Wonderful.
Yeah. We're going to do it somewhere at the in the center of Brussels, but there was difficulties with weather. It's too
what's
early.
the time over there, man?
No, you guys started at 9, so there's no pub really, decent pub like 9.
Yeah,
But you know, so we thought we'd just do it from home.
yeah,
We've been
fair
watching. Well done.
yeah.
How is everyone over there, mate? How is everyone? How's Mum? How's Dad? Obviously, Dad's pretty good sitting next to you.
They all getting on, but very happy we're here. I'm very happy that I'm paying them a visit. The only thing I'm a bit scared of is that, you know, sometimes it's a boost of energy and it's a different time when I leave. So I'm trying to be really busy with a lot of things before I go so that they can sleep after I'm gone.
Yeah.
You guys talk about family stuff, so I thought maybe we should join and wait until they talk about that section.
Yeah.
We wanted to cut it short.
Well,
You weren't here.
well, lucky you're here and you're the boss, so you can keep us here now. We can
Maybe
talk
like
about
that. We're all equal here.
it.
So, Thomas, have you been able to, because you're a very busy man when you're in Oz, right? So have you been able to disconnect 100% and give a lot to your family while you're over there this time?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I have. So I wake up way earlier. They're still asleep. I do my work, and then when they're up, I just switch things off. And then because Dad's 92, so when he has a break or Mum has a break in the middle of the day, I just get back onto some of my stuff that I need to do.
Yeah,
And then
amazing.
so
all
lovely.
over. Yeah. Well, that's why family values, you know, I think that you realize it a little bit more when you don't have your parents around. Many of you guys have got all your parents just a few kilometers away from you.
Mm,
And maybe you take family values for granted.
yeah.
But what is family, right? So
Yeah.
the reason I didn't think we get into it with 20 minutes to go was because it's such a deep topic. Family isn't just for you, TL, parents and kids and all those sort of people. Not everyone's that lucky, right, to have that behind them. So what is family? Let's go around the table. What's family?
Oh wow.
Is it blood? Is it blood? Can water be family as well? What are we?
Let's start. Sorry.
Go on, Lou.
I mean, family can be anything. I think family doesn't always have to be blood. Family can be, like, I consider all you guys family. You know, I went back to work today, as you guys know. I've been off for 10 days having surgery on the 26th of April, and I went back to work today and I spoke to Steve, my other half, at lunchtime, and he said, "How is it?" And I said, "You know, I have you guys as my family, but I spend every minute of every day basically with my team that I work with, and I have done for 10 years or more, and longer with you guys, because I've known you guys longer than I've known my own team." But I said it felt like I went home. It felt like I went home and I had my family again. Even though I've got my blood family at home, I've got my family who aren't blood, and it just was so amazing. Just like, you can't explain it. I can't explain it anyway. I felt like I went home and everything was fine, and it immediately elevated me to a different level in my mind and my everything, energy and everything. And so it was amazing. So family doesn't have to be blood. Family can be anything, but family and health are our most important things in life. And like I was saying before we wrapped up, time is our most precious commodity, and we just don't know how much of that we have, so we've got to spend it wisely. And It's
Can family be anything, or are we throwing that around too loosely? To me, family
look,
is anything other than anything. Once you throw the family word around it, that means something, doesn't it?
yeah, it's not anything, mate. I think family can be the ones that you know are given, and they're ones that you select. And you know, it doesn't have to be a big circle, but it can be a very tight circle. I haven't never had a lot of friends, but the friends I have are good, close friends.
I don't know why.
Sorry, mate.
I don't know why, mate.
And I consider them brothers. And but so family doesn't have to be blood. So I agree with Lou, but I don't use that term very loosely. I use it very selectively within myself.
yeah.
For me, family
Does
is
blood have to be family?
no. Well, blood effectively is family, but not all the time. And this is what my next saying was going to be: is family effectively is your compass. And even from the day you're born, it helps you point you in the direction that you'll end up in, whether it's with your ethics, your social views, your values, whether positive or negative, it is your compass that will direct you there. One of the prime examples I use of, and I've always thought of, is racism. Racism is something that is learnt. It's taught, and it is taught usually by family. So for positive or negative, the compass, using that word, the compass is what I would say family to me is. Now, people can go against that and then select their own group, their own niche, their own compass group to point them in the right direction. But for me, I've been very lucky. I've been brought up in a wonderful family with great values and strong beliefs. And we've had a lot of people, and it was maybe because Dad left Europe and left his family there, when he come here, his mates that were from the same village became his extended family. So in effect, that becomes my extended family.
Yeah.
So it truly doesn't have to be blood. Sometimes it's probably a curse if it is blood. I won't go into that because I might get shot. But family is, I think, your life's compass for the positive or the negative.
Isn't it great to see the Hoang boys went to the same family barber?
That's called genetics.
I know. I was going to say, take Dad's glasses off and put them on Thomas, and they look like twins.
One in the red looks younger.
Two boys rocking.
No,
Amazing.
it's really lovely.
Thomas, penny through your thoughts, mate. Obviously, you're there with family, who is also blood, who is also family. Can water be family, and does blood mean you have to be family?
You're on mute.
You're on mute.
We can't hear you. We
You're on
can't hear
mute.
you.
No,
Now we get you.
Yeah, I don't think that family has to be blood, because there's a lot of people who adopt children and they would die for them within a few months of knowing them. I think that I probably wouldn't say that family is a compass either, because they can't be your compass, because at that point in time, what if you lose that compass? So also, does it mean that your life has to be about the family, and who in the family then is your compass? Like, what if there's 6 people in the family? So what kind of compass you got?
Yeah.
Have you got 6 North Pole? What about your North Pole? So, and sometimes in some families, I think if a child has to become a North Pole, and then that means that you're imposing on the child to live the life that you might want them to live for you. I personally think that family is a person or persons you have decided to embrace joy together with, or pain together with. And that to me is a nutshell kind of definition. It means that when they're in pain, you're in pain. Or when they joyful, you rejoice in their joy. And so a lot of the decisions that you make when you consider someone family has to take them into account. You know, this is why I think when it comes to terms, the term family, I leave it maybe a little bit too far. I stretch a little bit too much, mainly because when you've been away from your family or your parents, and you were just 20, I think there is something that is missing, and then there is something that actually is strengthened.
Yeah.
In that respect, that's how I see family. Someone, or there's so many people that you have embraced and decide to share joy and pain together with, but they don't define you just as much as you don't define them.
Yeah. Yeah. Love
Well,
it.
What do you think family is? C'est quoi la famille?
My family,
C'est quoi ça veut dire quoi famille?
pour l'instant, j'ai oublié.
He said he forgot. But no, but famille.
He's very forgettable, your son. He's very forgettable. He's been gone 4 days. I've forgotten all about him. So
No.
Ça veut dire quoi le mot famille? Ça veut dire quoi?
Family,
Oui, ça veut dire quoi?
Yarding.
Oui, mais qu'est-ce que ça veut dire?
Ah ouais, c'est la réunion des gens de même sang, de même parenté.
Mais c'est des gens qui adoptent un enfant. Et c'est pas le même sang. Mais c'est la famille, il devient la famille.
Dans ce sens-là, alors, c'est la famille plus large, quoi. La famille que nous avons réunion ici, c'est la famille étroite, la petite famille, la famille de sang, mais la famille avec des enfants adoptés. Alors, c'est...
Okay, so that says that, you know, in a strict term, family for him are the people who share the same blood. Then he says, then there's a larger family, and those are comprised of the people you adopt.
That's so nice.
Beautiful.
That's so nice. Yeah.
you think we
He
throw
also said he's pissed off that he's joining without wine. He told me earlier when he was listening. And I told him, don't worry, that they're drinking shit wine most of the time.
I bought a French, mate. I bought a French one because that's the language you speak over there. I couldn't find a Belgian one. It's like Port Macquarie. Apparently, there's no good wines in Port Macquarie, 500 meters from Louise's house. Jesus Christ! What did you think about bullshit artists?
Oh, stop. Stop it.
You think it's a term we throw around too loosely, family? We've just come through COVID, and there are a lot of people who call people brother, sister, you're my family, you're my familia, and then the minute things went to shit, all of a sudden that went out the window. Do you think we're family until it suits us, even inside blood, right? We're real estate agents, right? I've seen family with deceased estates. I've had to sit in front of 6 brothers and sisters who are family until money's involved. All we want is the best for mum and dad. We want to honour their memory with as much money as possible. And then when it comes to sorting out that money, family goes straight out the window. And that's why I say, does blood actually make you family? I don't think it does.
Yeah.
Because family is blood, yes, your DNA is the same. It'll get you arrested in a murder trial, right? But what it won't do is stop you being a greedy prick. It won't stop you throwing your family under a bus. It won't stop any of those things that are also inherent in your DNA that makes you anything but family. I think we throw the term around too loose.
Yeah. I think when it comes down to that, it's got to be a two-way street, mate, and it's got to be reciprocated. And I think,
but if it isn't, you're not family. you're not family.
Yeah, and that's the thing. When it's not reciprocated, that's when it starts. Blood or not blood, it starts to be going, you know what? And you guys know I've lost both my parents. And my two sisters, we've never been stronger. Since that, we've never been stronger. And I've seen other families, like you just said, Cam, have gone the total up and very close to me. I know families very close to me going to total opposite difference. When the matriarchs have passed away, they've gone completely the opposite way. And then
because blood is thicker than water, and what's thicker than all of it is money. It turns out.
Very good way to put it, mate. Very good way to put it. But again, it comes down to that reciprocating sort of understanding of each other, and that's when you're saying you can select your family, and so a lot of people do use it loosely. I think that's a lack of experience. I think later on in life we start to get sick and tired of fake and of bullshit, and we understand that people who are on our side, who've got our back, who, like you said, can make that phone call. We understand that.
I think, Tom, I disagree with Thomas on one aspect. He says a family member is someone who shares your joy. Right? I don't agree, because everyone will share your joy. You know who family is when the bullets are flying. Sorry, mate.
No, I said rejoice.
You understand
rejoice in your joy. This, that's why I said family.
Actually enjoy your joy.
Yeah,
there's plenty of people when things are going good will come and have a beer with you, but usually because you're paying for the beer, because things you had a win, well done, you're a shout, right? That's not family. Right? No,
but I didn't say that.
Down the pub. I think the true gauge of family is bullets flying, man.
Well, yeah.
That's when you know who family is.
Yeah.
And you know who's really family to you, not even your own sense. If you see someone in trouble and you don't jump in front of the bullet for them, then they're not, yourself, they're not family to you. It's not just about you. It's not about people jumping in for you. It's you jumping in for them. And if your first reaction when someone's in trouble is not to go and help them, they're not your family, and you've got no right to call them that.
I think the real tragedy about what we're talking about right now is we all know what family means to us as individuals, and we all know that everyone sitting here today, whether it was a family member by blood, a child obviously by blood, or somebody that you really care deeply about whether they weren't blood or not, there's not much that you wouldn't do for somebody that you love that much. All right. And what the sad thing is and it's a song, and the artist escapes me now, but he sings about weddings and funerals, and they're always a spectacle. And the sad thing about that is that nowadays, that's generally the only time families get together. And that's a sad reality that or weddings and funerals, or when shit hits the fan, figuratively, be it health or whatever. And obviously COVID got in the way, and the pandemic, and we couldn't go, and we couldn't be, and we couldn't do. And I lost my nan during COVID, and I couldn't be there. I could not, the family, that's such a close-knit family, and we just couldn't be there in her last hours. It is just such a cruel thing. But it's the reality that we were in at the time, and we just had to deal with it. But the sad thing for me is we all know that we would do anything for anybody we love. But why do we wait for a wedding and funeral to make that happen? Like, I think at some level we're all guilty of it a little bit. It wasn't until this last week, as you guys all know, I had that immense scare with my son and finding a tumor in his leg. And I went from on top of the world, even though I just had surgery myself, to not physically being able to speak because I was just at such a level of despair, not knowing what the next phone call was going to be, that you immediately have so many regrets and so many should I, could I, would I, should I have done this or whatever. You can't take that back. And I think the real sad thing is why do we have to wait for such a thing to happen in life that we actually remind our families and show up for our families and be there for our families? And why does something bad or sad or even a wedding's good, but why does it have to be that brings us back together? And that's a sad
thing. Real family. That's not real.
Sorry?
That's not real family, though.
No,
That's the point.
it is.
It's
No,
not real family.
my point
You
is,
turn up out of obligation.
Out of obligation, you're right.
Someone's commented and said, well, then why do we hurt family too? Being family doesn't mean that you don't make mistakes and you're not going to do
probably
something
make more mistakes. Probably make more
hurts
mistakes.
people. And usually we treat ourselves worse than we treat anyone.
Yep.
And second to that is because we think it's behind closed doors or whatever, we'll treat people closest to us worse than we'll treat the stranger in the street.
Yep.
And that's just a huge flaw in humans.
Yep.
And that's something that has to be understood. But if you understand that you're hurting your family, then that's another indication that they're probably real family, because a lot of people will hurt people and not give a shit. And that means, back to my original point, we throw the term family around too soon. You can't, humans aren't infallible, and we all fuck up. We all make mistakes, and they're going to hurt people unintentionally, intentionally. Sometimes we intentionally hurt family, right? But that doesn't make it any less. I don't believe that makes it any less family, because at the same time, you'd probably still jump in front of a bus from when the time comes. Sometimes you don't realise the errors of your own ways, but that doesn't take away from the family. I think the care, Thomas said we'll share your pain as well. That comes in that's where I agree with him. In times of trouble, mate, in times of, and whether you've caused the pain or not, how you react to that decides whether you're family or not. You can't, no one wants to hurt their family.
Yeah, that's right.
No one wants to, but it's gonna happen, right?
Yeah. And we tend to always hurt the ones
does happen.
most. Yeah.
I think a healthy family understands that there can be conflict, but we can move beyond it. And there's always that bond there. I mean, our dinner table, and for me, the dinner table was always somewhere where family could speak your mind, and we could have conflicts at the dinner table and have really robust conversations. And that dinner finishes, you move on. Everything's forgiven, and you move on. To the stage where my wife, when she first met my family, we were calling each other idiots over the dinner table, sometimes jovially, jokingly. She was like, if this was in my family, we'd be shooting each other, right? At the end of the day, family for different people are different. But whether it's blood or not, I think there are two aspects in Cameron. You said about it before, Thomas said about the joy of it. Jordan Peterson, recently I heard something from him about, be careful who you share your joy with, because only share it with the people who are genuinely happy for your success, that are going to celebrate your success from their heart, not from their alternative motive. And I think that sort of leads to the fact of who is truly family. Because I know you guys, if with my success, you guys would be genuinely happy.
Absolutely.
And if the pain, you guys would be the first one there if someone was in trouble. So it's those defining points within our family, and when you can have those conflicts and move on, like when people are shit dancing, fall over and hurt other people, you have those problems and you move on real quick. That's sort of
never complain about it, mate.
Yeah. I guess the thing is, like,
I think to use language that most people like me would understand. There's a difference between you've had a win, you go to the pub with the boys and they say you're shout because you've had a win, and there's a difference, and then you go to the pub with the boys and they say, mate, you've had a win, let me buy you a beer. I know who, that's the difference. Anyone who sits there and says to you, you've done good in life, now because of that you have to buy me a beer, may seem a trivial thing. May seem a really trivial thing, but it speaks volumes. There's a reason why when you go and wet the baby's head, the bloke shouldn't never have to pay for a beer because his so-called mates.
Yeah.
In the last head wedding I was at, I had to sit there. I'm tight with the guy who had the baby. I'd sold his house. He'd sold a house. He'd bought a house off me. We'd become mates. but the other 20 blokes I didn't really know, and I sat there and had to watch bloke after bloke come up and go, righto, Tommy, your shout, righto, Tommy, your shout, righto, Tommy, your shout. And I grabbed him at the wrong time because I'd had too many beers. I said, these people aren't your mates. He said, what are you talking about? I said, these people aren't your mates. Anyone who's asking you to buy them a beer right now, they're not family to you, brother.
Exactly.
That is as simple as it can be. We can go as deep as you like, or we can go, be careful who you share your joy with. Anyone who's telling you to buy them a beer.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
Life in Cameron's dictionary.
But isn't it?
That's right, mate. Like it's
right? It's not about. It's not
No,
about
it's right.
piss head and anything like that. Like I get, there's a difference. You go and win $10,000 on the pokies, you buy everyone in the bar a beer because you've had a win. But because you're doing good in life, no real family or no real friend who's pretending to be family comes up to you and says, oh, mate, you're making a shitload as a real estate agent. You should buy me a beer. No. So,
you guys ever watched $1 Million Baby? Clint Eastwood movie, boxing, female boxer?
Yeah.
I haven't.
Winona Ryder?
I think so. I don't know. At the end of it, she had her accident and the family just was
Oh, no, it
bleeding.
was Halle Berry. Halle Berry.
It wasn't Halle Berry. It wasn't Halle Berry. I think it was Halle Berry.
Well, it must have been Halle Berry or Winona Ryder. Anyway.
It must have been one. Anyway, the family was bleeding off her at the end of it, and they were blood. But the person who wasn't the blood was the person looking after her.
Yeah.
So you're right, Cam. From word one, family doesn't need to be blood. It can be water. It can be those that you select.
Yep.
I've saw a tattoo. I think it was on Pinterest that says, "Family are those who that you select, not that you're born with."
Mm.
Born into, you select.
The other question I want to ask, right, is I'm spewing TL's not back here because
He'll be watching.
I'll be interested in his thoughts. No. How quickly, so blood doesn't have to be family. Water can be family. How quickly do we forget sometimes that people are blood and cast them off as not family?
Too quickly.
Because it suits us. Is there an inherent obligation on us because people are blood? Should we put in a little bit of extra effort than we do sometimes because they are blood? Does blood buy you the right to a couple more chances?
It's a very.
I want to articulate the question. Does blood buy you a few chances?
It's a very good question, Cam, but it's also a very interesting question because I think being Aussies, and we all are, it's the she'll be right mate approach. They'll always be there. And that's, I think, one of our biggest downfalls because they're only human and they won't always be there. And that's the reality. And I think that's why we have the weddings and funerals approach. And, you know, you can always count on them. But I think, I'm speaking from personal experience sometimes. You know, I've had a few tragedies in the last couple of years and things happen where it's really brought me home to what really matters and who's important and everything else. And, you know, I'm 3 hours from the Central Coast and that's where my grandparents live. And a couple of times we've gone down to Wallara Bay and we've had our training seminars with our networks and it's been wonderful. But a couple of times that I've been down there, my grandparents live literally 5 streets away from that club. And I've gone, oh, it's too late. It's too far. It's too much. I can't. And, you know, looking back now, I wish had I known what I know now and that Nan's not here, that if over those few times I had to just went, you know what, I'm going to just go and have lunch with them and come back in our break. But it's the she'll be right mate approach because I'll just see them at Christmas or I'll see them at Easter or I'll see them at whenever. What
I'm saying is, Lou, I get what you're saying, but what I'm saying is when people make mistakes, we can also be very quick. I think it goes 2 ways. We can hang on to people too long because they're blood and because they're blood family, but then I also think sometimes we're too quick to cast people aside for mistakes they make even though they're blood. Does blood buy you a couple of bites at the cherry as far as loyalty and protection? And
Oh, yeah.
I know he did it, I know he fucked up, and I know he did this, and I know he did that, but he's my whatever.
Yeah.
right?
You know, I don't think it matters whether it's blood or water, mate. I think it comes down to you know, intelligent reasoning. I was looking into, you know, why is family important. I went right back, and you think about it, and like a primal level, we do it for security, right? So, you know, caveman times, a tribe, or moving forward thousands of years, it's still tribe mentality. Vikings, the safety in numbers.
Yeah.
If there's one person that is left or right of that field, they sort of usually cast aside. But if they come back into the fray and say, I'll do the right thing, there's always room for them back in the tribe. So I think whether it's blood or water, I think if they've made amends for themselves, and you're intelligent enough to say, yeah, okay, they've made a change, let's give them another chance. There will always be a point of enough's enough. I've seen it previously with addictions and other things, that enough is enough. But generally, people with good values will always allow a second, third, and fourth chance.
And we see people get married 2, 3, 4, 5 times.
Yeah. I look, I don't know, Chris. I tend to think that a lot of us are more what's the word, like
Adverse.
flexible when it comes to family. Like, I know we've had a lot of, well, not
Until there's a deceased estate involved.
no, well, no, you know, we've had that, and that hasn't happened. But I think with family, like, we've had some pretty big bust ups in terms of fights internally, family, brothers, sisters, my sister, you know, things that usually and have always been resolved. And there's been some pretty hectic things that have happened, but we've always made amends and come back together. I don't know that the same outcome would have happened if it wasn't somebody that was family, because family, it's like saying, for
Yeah, they're a
example,
little bit extra. They're a little bit extra.
I don't want this arm anymore, you know, but the reality is it's my friggin' arm and I can't get rid of it. It is my arm, it belongs to me, and so do those family. Whether I like them or not, they are my family. I have a duty, in my opinion, to respect them and love them. I don't have to necessarily agree with them on everything, and what they do, but they are my family, and I
You
didn't
make an extra effort to.
That's right. I don't have to agree, but I have to accept, and that's the difference. Whereas if someone on this side who's not family but is water, so to speak, they may do something that I just go, you know what, that is so outside of what I stand for, believe in, care for, whatever. If that's outside of, I can just cut that off, and I don't need to deal with that, associate with that. But I can't just do that with a brother, a sister, a mother, an uncle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
People do, though. People do. So
Really?
blood should, I believe, the question was, should blood buy you a second chance or a third chance? I believe, yes, it should.
Yeah.
Depending on,
particularly because we do
depending
hurt
on said circumstance, right? Everyone has their own lines, depending on said circumstance. But I think, particularly in the area of money, the whole life gets. I have seen people have been tight for 30, 40, 50 years completely disintegrate the minute there's a disagreement about where the money goes.
Yeah.
Or where the estate completely, not irreparably.
Yep.
I'm going through one at the moment. I'm selling one at the moment where I go, what are you boys doing? Because I've heard stories from both sides about how well they used to get along and how everything irreparably owed money. So I think.
Yeah.
I think. Can I ask you this, guys? Can I ask you this, just to sort of, because we're getting to wrap up time, close to wrap up time. Do you think society is moving away from sort of the family importance or the importance of a traditional family structure? Do you think we're moving away from it?
Well, I think the word has lost its value.
Yeah.
That's what I think, because you've got gangsters, and this isn't even a joke. You've got gangsters running around with my familia tattooed across
Yeah.
the chest. The
My
bra
brother's
boys.
keeper.
I've got a tattoo across my chest, and it speaks Latin, and it's got nothing to do with the bra boys. But I got it at the time that the bra boys were made famous, and
My brother's
their
keeper.
tattoo says my brother's keeper. So I used to tell everyone, well, this says bra boys are fuckwits in Latin. That's what that's what I used to tell people. Please don't shoot me. I was young and dumb, and I know you can surf and it's okay. But I think the word has been devalued.
Yeah, I really
I don't think people know what family is. They say that and I've known quite a few in the past. So, and these people will shoot you. So I'll be very, very careful. But they say, bikies get in there because they're lost and they finally find a sense of family. But if that family's running you to the end of a 12-gauge shotgun or 50 kilos of cocaine importation, probably not family. I think the word has been devalued, and because of that, family values have disappeared. Right?
Yeah. I don't disagree. And one thing though, and God love my nan's little soul, she loved owls, and I found a little statue recently, and it said family, where life begins and love never ends. And I was like, that's the truest thing I've ever heard, really.
All right.
Life begins and love never ends. And you know what, like family, we all make mistakes, we all have grievances and things that happen over life that tear us apart, pull us back together, and blah, 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 blah. But I think at the end of the day, even when people have had disagreements or things have happened in family structures, unfortunately, there's always an event that brings them back together. And the shame about that is that I wish that, particularly family, because it doesn't need to be an event that reminds you of what you've got and who you have and those that matter to you, because without
Lou, can I ask you, Lou, one thing that you would recommend to everyone that would help to strengthen their family? One act, one suggestion, something that you guys might do frequently to strengthen family ties.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a lot of things that come to mind, but I guess one thing, and I'm going to speak from experience, and I'm only going to say one thing.
I'm not going to give you one thing.
Less than 20 words. One thing, less than 20 words. You're already on my case again. I'm
already up to 17 words. We're already up to 17 words.
Stop it. One thing, and it's not my best advice, but there's one thing that I am doing personally. I'm making more of an effort to be there, whether it's answering the phone, replying to that text message, showing up, making an attempt. I think when it comes to family, we take a lot for granted because she'll be right, mate, kind of thing. Yet sometimes we can do more for others that aren't even family than our family. And I think at the end of the day, when something happens and there's a tragedy or an illness or something
that you suppose you wasted 2 words on the same word.
Family are going to be there more than anyone else.
I wonder we got global warming.
We often subjugate the importance of our family to others when we should be putting the importance into the family, right, Lou?
Exactly. That's what I needed to say in 10 words.
Exactly. Right. Okay.
Thank you.
For myself, it's family dinners. Sit at the table, turn the fucking phones off, and have a conversation.
Yeah.
And it doesn't always have to be blood, but sit down, turn your phones off, and have a conversation. I grew up with that. My mum and dad, God bless their souls. My sisters, we still do that when we can. We get together and we talk. And we talk about everything and anything. And we do the same with our kids. And even when we go to a restaurant with our 2 kids, we turn the phones off and we talk. And
That's-
that's probably communication for me with the family on the basic level, and be interested in what they have to tell you.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, mate. The only communication you can have with your family is basic. So, I just meant you in particular, not in general. Someone called Readers commented and said food has brought the family closer. It's brought Chris's buttons wider apart. I can tell you that much.
And his hair's longer. It's growing his hair as well.
Oh, to finish up, I'll say this.
Okay.
When my wife and I got married, my mum's side of the family has, I think we're up to about 88 people. And for a lot of years, everyone used to get together, the uncles, the aunties, the cousins, and all that stuff. When my wife and I got married, we had 40 people, and I think 15 of them were from my blood family. And we sent out an email 9 months before we got married and said, look, this is what's happening. Some of you are going to be invited, some of you aren't. Please be okay with it. That's our decision. And we didn't do speeches at our wedding. I just got up and said, if you're here, you know why you're here. If you're not, you know why they're not. That was the only speech given at our wedding. I don't believe that blood entitles you to the right to be family. I have a 40th birthday coming up in 19 days.
Yeah.
And I have my 40th birthday coming up in 19 days. My wife has done an amazing job of organising something. I'm not 100% sure what, but what I do know is there'll probably be, out of 50 people coming, there'll be 6 people with the same blood as mine. Blood doesn't entitle you to be family. If you think you are, ask yourself whether you jump in front of a bus for that person, because that, and not metaphorically speaking, would you actually jump in front of a bus for that person?
Yeah.
And they're the questions I ask myself when I've got to sit back. And the decision on how many people came to my wedding was based on money back in the day. We didn't have a lot of it. So the people who were going to be there had to be there for a reason. It got to the point where I invited half of families. Like, that's how if I had 5 cousins in a family, I'd invite 2 of them and not the other. We invited 2 of them and not the other 3, because the other 3 had nothing to do with my life. Just because your blood doesn't, and you've had nothing to do with me for the last 15 years, doesn't entitle you to turn up, drink all my piss, spend all our money, and say, I'm serious, right? If we're going to spend tens of thousands of dollars, I'm going to do it with my family, right? My real family. The little bugger that's left us with his old man, he's my family. And, you know, and he shares my joy, but God, we go through the pain together. And people don't understand that. People don't understand that. And we're 15 years apart in age. And so a completely different generation, but we've connected on one thing. We've got the same values as people, and we share each other's pain. And that's family, right? That's family. Now, in closing, I just want to say, Thomas has been on here in the comments, and his name is coming up as Hoang. And I'd just like to point out that that's the only time Thomas has been called. That's the only time Thomas has been called Hoang in his entire life. And I'm glad he could jump on to share that celebration. Finally, brother, you got something you can tuck into your sock. Well done. Congratulations for the family.
How cute is he?
Thank you, everybody.
He's so lovely. Bye, you guys. Bye, Thomas. Bye, your dad.
Awesome
Bye,
podcast.
good night.
Good to see you, Thomas.
See you next week.